Hey everyone, I'm Rob Franek. I'm Editor-in-Chief here at the Princeton Review. Thank you as always for joining us for our SAT series where we actively help you expand your personal knowledge of that gatekeeper of a test so you're prepared to come best it come test day. Today's segment is all about parallel process of elimination on the SAT reading test. Now, typically, there are two best evidence questions on each reading passage. Most of them involve paired sets of questions in which the second question asks for the best evidence for the answer to the previous question. The approach that we're covering in this lesson works super well for paired question sets when the answer to the first question is hard to find in the passage. Now, if you're like most students across the globe, when you don't know where to look in the passage to answer the question, you might reread the whole passage, looking, searching for the right information. Then you might reread it again if what you found doesn't match any of the answers to the best evidence questions. And that's exactly what the team at the College Board, the creators of all things SAT, want you to do, to waste your time, your precious seconds flittering away time reading and rereading passages. It is a trap, my friends, and you and I are going to best that trap, and we're going to do it together today. There is, of course, a much more efficient and elegant approach that you can use, and that approach is called Parallel Process of Elimination. So, as promised, we are going to walk through an example, and we're going to do it together. And just one quick housekeeping note before we dive in. As in other segments, we're using our new SAT prep title out from Penguin Random House along with the Princeton Review. You may certainly follow along in your book, or you can do it right here on screen. Pick the platform that serves you best. Back to the matter at hand. The questions we're about to work on come from a passage by Linton Weeks titled The Windshield Pitting Mystery of 1954. Copyright 2015 by National Public Radio, NPR's History Department. So let's take a look at the first question, shall we? It is question 20. Question 20 asks, I quote, based on the passage, the author most likely agrees that pitting is... Friends, first off, let us rephrase that sentence as an actual question. What does the author likely think pitting is? Now, let's just say it out loud. That is a pretty open-ended question. The whole passage is about a windshield pitting mystery. The author might agree with a lot of the things about windshield pitting, so it might be tough to tell when we found the right answer to question 20. But that said, and as you can see, this is the first question in a paired set. Question 21 asks, and I quote, which choice provides the best evidence for the answer to the previous question? Now, we can use the answer choices for question 21 to help us narrow down how much of the passage we actually need to read to pinpoint the answer in question 20. We're going to do just that, and we are going to use parallel process of elimination as our strategy. Now, parallel process of elimination starts with looking at the answer choices for the best evidence question. So, of course, we're going to start with the answer choices for question 21. Let's look at the first answer choice. That's answer choice A. It is lines 12 through 14. As we read those lines, let's keep question 20 in our minds. Here's the quote. I will read it to you. Panicked residents, the website reports, suspected everything from cosmic rays to sand flea eggs to fallout from H-bomb tests. Now, the first thing that we need to ask is, do those lines answer question 20? And it's pretty crystal clear from the get-go that they don't, because question 20 asked what the author thinks the pitting is. But these lines tell us what the panicked residents thought the pitting was. And for the purposes of our question, no one cares what the panicked residents think. So since lines 12 through 14 don't answer question 20, they can't possibly provide the best evidence for question 20. So we eliminate it, and 21A is no longer going to be an answer, and we move on. Next up, we'll take a look at 21B, which is lines 30 through 32. Those lines say, and I quote, as summer rolled on, reports of pitting decreased everywhere and the country moved on to building backyard fallout shelters. Question: do these lines answer question 20? No, they do not, as they say nothing of what the author thinks pitting was. They just say that the report of pitting decreased at a certain point and people moved on to think plain old about something else. So, since 21b doesn't answer the question for 20, we eliminate 21b. Next up, we take a look at 21c. That's lines 50 through 53. These lines, and I quote, "Windshield pitting," Rohal says, "may be more like crop circles in which there is physical evidence that something happened, but no one is certain of the cause." The question: do these lines answer question 20? Well, potentially they could. The author is quoting Rohal, but it's also possible that the author agrees with Rohal. And these lines do talk about something that windshield pitting might be. So now we'll look back at answer choices for question 20 to see whether the lines for 21c support any of those answer choices. Now, looking back at all of the answer choices for question 20, there aren't any, not one, that match lines 50 to 53. There's nothing in the choices about crop circles, and there's nothing about evidence that something happened, but no one was sure of the cause. So in short, none of the answer choices in question 20 match the lines for 21c, so 21c can't possibly be the correct answer. And that leaves us, my friends, with just one answer choice for 21, and that is, of course, 21d, lines 86 through 89. And those lines read, and I quote, "I suspect that most people already had pits all along and only attributed to the mysterious cause when they heard other people doing it." The obvious question: do these lines answer question 20? Potentially, they could. They say that the pits were something that were already on people's windshield, and people just attributed them to this mysterious cause when they heard that other people were also attributing this to that same mysterious cause. That all said, let's look for a match in our answer choices for question 20. 20a seems like a potential match for 21d. It says, and I quote, "a coincidence based on group observations." And that sounds something like what we just read in lines 86 through 89. So we'll draw a line connecting 21d to 20a. Next up, we'll check 20b. The quote reads, "the result of cosmic rays and nuclear fallout." Now that's clearly, of course, not a match for what we read in lines 86 through 89. In fact, my friends, that is a trap answer based on one of the other choices for question 21. Next up, 20c says, and I quote, "an example of mass hysteria similar to the Salem witch trials." That certainly doesn't match what we read in lines 86 through 89, as they don't reference mass hysteria, and they certainly don't reference the Salem witch trials. 20c is not a match for 21d. 20d says, and I quote, "the result of a streak of vandalism in the spring of 1954. Lines 86 to 89 say nothing about vandalism, and so 20d is not a match for 21d. Friends, take an e-bow with me. We have now completed parallel process of elimination, as there is just one pair of answer choices connected, 20a and 21d. And since none of the other answer choices for question 20 have any support for question 21, none of those can possibly be the correct answer for question 20. Hence, we eliminate them. So, now we know that the correct answers are, of course, 20a and 21d. But before we end our segment today, let us together recall our key concepts for this segment. By using parallel process of elimination, we were able to find the relevant part of the passage quickly and eliminate the wrong answers for two questions using one process. Feel the power in it, friends. And let us remember that whenever you see a paired set of questions and the answer to the first question is hard to find in the passage, then please use Parallel Process of Elimination. Start with the answer choices for the best evidence question and eliminate any choices that don't answer the first question. Match any remaining choices to the answers for the first question, drawing a line as we just did to connect any choices that match. Eliminate any answer choices for the first question that don't have support for the second question. Folks, as always, I'm hoping that this explanation and strategy was valuable, and just a personal note from me and our entire team at the Princeton Review, you so have this. The SAT is not going to be a match for you. We have such utter faith in your abilities. Folks, before I leave, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to our channel for the latest and the greatest information on careers and colleges and test prep and a whole lot more. Rob Franek, Editor-in-Chief here at the Princeton Review, signing off for today. Be well.